All right, well, the former Prime Minister Paul Keating has launched an extraordinary attack on Scott Morrison over what he says is his poor handling of the Australia-China relationship. Writing in the Australian Financial Review today, Mr Keating accuses the Morrison government of deliberately provoking Beijing to curry favour with the United States. Let's get an expert in for his reaction. Executive Director of the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, Peter Jennings. He joins me now from Canberra. A fascinating intervention here from Paul Keating. Unsurprisingly, of course, there's no shortage of fire and brimstone from Keating in this AFR account today. But Peter Jennings, I'm interested in your response to a couple of his key claims. I'll give you one. He says China is not the old Soviet Union. It's not attacking or forcibly incorporating countries into a grand union. It doesn't threaten nuclear Armageddon. Other than, say, its front porch, the South China Sea, it broadly keeps to itself. I don't know, he must think we're pretty stupid, doesn't he?
It's angry, ahistorical, profoundly incorrect, bordering on incoherent, Peter, would be how I describe it. Let's start with this proposition that China does not present military challenges to anyone. And think about, well, 1950, the occupation of Tibet, 1962, a war with India. They almost went to war with the Soviet Union in 1962. 1979, a war with Vietnam. Then just a few years ago, the military annexation of the South China Sea, which is not a small area. It's about the size of the Mediterranean. China has border disputes with all its neighbours. It's routinely and on a daily basis harassing Taiwanese, Japanese, South Korean forces in their own airspace. To suggest that China is somehow a pacifist, inwardly looking country is simply ahistorical. It is a line that you hear it from the Chinese Communist Party, but I find it remarkable that a former Australian Prime Minister could be so profoundly ahistorical in his thinking that he would actually accept that that is a description of the China that we're having to deal with today.
Right, so help me read the political code here too, and I'm concerned that this is signalling some sort of shift from the ALP. Keating also looks at the issue of the relationship, the faith in the relationship ANZUS that we have with the United States, the same week that, of course, it's the 70th anniversary. And he's saying that conservatives like Morrison are putting their faith in ANZUS in the same way erroneously he says, that we did with Britain in the 30s and 40s. Now, if we're not putting our faith through ANZUS with the US, who does he say we should put our faith in?
Well, yes, that position remains unoccupied, I think, in Keating's world. I'm looking forward, Peter, to seeing him take down John Curtin and his decision to look to the United States in the Second World War. You know, the lesson from that war is that countries with dependable allies win. And in the United States, the judgment of every Australian Prime Minister, including when Keating was Prime Minister, has been that the United States is a dependable ally. I don't think Australia takes that on faith. I think we work hard to maintain and to expand that alliance, including by engaging more closely with other countries. Japan, for example, we have a great relationship with these days. We're also, I'm happy to say, rediscovering strategic connections with Europe, which Paul Keating as Prime Minister did his best to do away with on the erroneous basis that we were supposedly an Asian country. I doubt very much that we'll see a weakening of the Labor Party's support for the American alliance. But in any event, whoever is in power, we need to be tending that relationship because, frankly, a country of 25 million people with the resources that we put to defence, we need allies if we're going to look after our security in this part of the world.
Yeah, look, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I thought it was very good to hear today that Peter Dutton and Maurice Payne will travel to the United States for the AUSMIN talks. It's usually 1 year in their country, 1 year in ours. We've had all of this circus done by Zoom in recent years, and I think getting back to face is incredibly important. The PM today, when he was talking about these Pfizer vaccines landing on Sunday, also mentioned the Quad, and he talked about the fact that he's going to meet with President Biden in the US later on this year, that there will be Quad talks. But of course, a key part of the Quad is Japan. And the Japanese Prime Minister Suga today announced that he intends to step down. Now, this has been a shock to me He's only been in office for, what, about a year. What does it all mean?
I think it's almost entirely driven by a negative public reaction in Japan to COVID and to the management of what is now the fifth wave of infections going through Japan. Suga is basically taking the hit for that. I don't think it reflects in any way a negative assessment of his foreign policy or the foreign policies of the Liberal Democratic Party. And my sense is that after the Japanese election, probably in October sometime, we'll probably see the LDP returned. I'm not sure who's going to emerge as the likely prime ministerial candidate, but whoever that person is, what we're going to see is broad continuity in Japanese foreign and security policy, and that means a close relationship with Australia, an expanding Quad. I think those elements are now locked into Japan's approach for the future.
Yeah, absolutely hope so. Peter Jennings, thank you for your analysis. Thanks for your patience waiting for us, but I think they're very important issues to get across today. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, Peter. Thank you.